Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on a rainy, dreary Wednesday. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. We got plenty to do today. Matthew Brune here in 15 minutes. The women are headed off to Greenville for the SEC tournament. What is he hearing about the future of LSU men's basketball? Matthew Brune covers that beat as closely as anybody in town, so curious to see what his thoughts are after another loss last night. It's a What If Wednesday. We'll talk to our friends over at Oxnard at 1:45. Dr. Jeremy Burnham will jump aboard. Koki Riley is going to be in Lafayette tonight for LSU and ULL. We'll talk to him at 2 o'clock. SEC Baseball Power Rankings. As you gather, there's plenty to do, so lock us in for the next 2 hours. Let's crank it up with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
Let's start with LSU and ULL tonight from Teague Moorfield in Lafayette. Just on a personal note, I'm very excited for this game tonight. I am going to be there. I'm going to cover it for LouisianaSports.net. I have been to an LSU ULL game in Lafayette one previous time. I was relatively new on the beat, 2 years in. And LSU went to ULL to play on a Tuesday night in Lafayette in 2013. I didn't remember the year, so I went back and found the game in the box score today. And incidentally, it was the night, as it were, that Alex Bregman hit his first collegiate home run. It was at Lafayette, LSU, ULL from Teague Moore. So I have not been in that ballpark since 2013. To paint you a picture of my night in Lafayette that night, I remember a couple things. One, there was no room in the press box for me at Teague Moore that night, so I was down in a movable, like folding style chair near the LSU dugout with no Wi-Fi. Like that's the accommodations that they had for me. And I thought it was crazy, awesome, but crazy that they were selling beer in the stadium. I couldn't believe it. Now you fast forward 13 years, and I checked out a picture online today of Teague Moore. It is nothing like the Teague Moore I remember. Looks gorgeous. Can't wait to get in there and see it. And everyone sells beer. So I'm very, very excited to get over there tonight to check out the action, see the new facilities. Y'all know I love college baseball. I like to see schools that take college baseball seriously. I am beyond fired up to go to Starkville this year for the first time since also 2013 before they redid Duty Notable, and I'm going to check that out this year for the first time. That's just kind of right up my alley, and I'm excited to get over there and check out this game. But I also think there's a lot of intrigue in this game. Before I talk about it, let me just get this preface out there. This game is not massively consequential to LSU or ULL. It's just not. You've got conference slates to play. It's March the 4th. There's a lot of baseball left to be played. So if LSU goes out there and gets beat by 6 tonight, I'm not going to sound an alarm on my show tomorrow. If LSU goes over there and 10 runs them, I don't think ULL should pack up their equipment for the year. It's just going to be a lively midweek game in a sold-out environment between a pair of teams that I think are pretty damn good. I think LSU is good. I'm confident in that. And it looks like ULL's pretty good. Their record would indicate that they are. They got off to a bad start. They lost the first 2 games of the season to Missouri State. That wasn't great. But since then, they've won 8 of 9. They swept Maryland. And then they beat Kansas State in a pair of games in the midweek. Both of them were tight games, a 1-0 game on last Tuesday and a 3-2 game in 11 innings on Wednesday of last week. And Kansas State's beat up on some Big Ten teams. I don't know if they're any good or not. But, like, they swept Maryland and beat Kansas State twice. It's 5-0 against power conference teams. It's Big Ten and Big 12. But I think ULL is probably pretty good. So I'm excited for a pair of good baseball teams. I think it's going to be an incredible environment. My guess is, and this is based on very little, there are going to be tons of people in the 337 that know better than I do. And But my guess is that ULL fans are going to pack this joint, and there's not going to be a lot of purple and gold in there. That's my guess. I watched Mississippi State in Hattiesburg last night against Southern Miss. Not a lot of maroon in that ballpark. It was packed in gold, and it was an incredible environment. It was an incredible game. But I think it's going to be similar to that. There will be some purple and gold, but there's going to be a lot more red. And I anticipate it's going to be a really, really lively environment. Now, LSU hasn't seen anything like that this year. So I'm curious to see how LSU handles it. Now, with all that said, saying great environment, two good teams, I'm excited, not massively consequential. Here is the little dovetail off of that. I know that LSU doesn't have to win this game, but the feeling entering this game, the feeling is that LSU needs to go play a good baseball game and win the game. That's the feeling. It's not the reality. They don't have to. They could lose tonight and win 20 in a row. But it feels like after last weekend, after Monday, it's time to go out there and find some positivity, find some good, and move forward. Because it was a clunky weekend. And so that's the feeling I have entering this game. Now, to talk about like what we actually might see in this game, and I am very fascinated with LSU's pitching plans. Here's my opinion. My opinion is that Jaden Newt will start the game. Jaden Newt threw 6 pitches on Sunday after Magic Grizzly lost his control a little bit, and he came out and got the last out, got a little change-up, strikeout. 6 pitches. I think he is perfectly good to go out there, give you 3 outs, give you 6 outs, get you off to a start. I think he's the most logical starting pitcher for LSU in this game. But I'm more interested in how Jay Johnson deploys his bullpen. If this game is a 9-run deficit in the middle innings, it doesn't really matter one way or the other. LSU's up, ULL's up, doesn't matter. But if this is the tight game, entering the 5th inning, entering the 6th inning, it's my opinion that Gavin Guidry, Devin Sheeran, and Maverick Rizzi should be called upon to finish this game. Because I think it's important for LSU to go win the game. I do. I'm not telling you that Gavin Guidry needs to throw 91 pitches tonight so you ensure a win. This is not a regional. I'm not telling you that you need to overextend Maverick Rizzi, who threw 38 pitches on Sunday, and bring him back out for 40 more on 2 days rest. But Guidry threw 50 pitches on Friday. He had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday off. That's 4 days rest. I think 30 pitches is completely reasonable for Gavin Guidry. That could be 2 innings. I know he's coming off a back injury, but he's had 4 days rest off 50 pitches. I think he's good to go. Devin Sheeran shut the door on Saturday with 15 pitches. He's had Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday off. That's 3 days rest on 15 pitches. He's ready. He's got 2 innings in the tank. And then Maverick Rizzi did throw 38 pitches on Sunday and got a little bit tired at the end, absolutely. But absolutely, after 2 days off, he's got an inning in him. So, by my eye, I've got 5 innings if I want it from Guidry, Sheeran, and Rizzi. And absolutely, that would compromise you for Friday's game. Not necessarily for Saturday or Sunday, but for Friday's game, you would be compromised with those, your 3 biggest leverage guys. You would be compromised for Friday. But on Friday, you've got Kason Evans on full rest, and I believe his pitch count this week will be up over 100. If he does a good job against Sacramento State, that should be 6 innings of work. You've got 9 outs left. We'll deal with that when we get to that. I'm not saying sell out tonight. I'm not saying completely compromise your weekend. I'm not saying put any of your pitchers in jeopardy. I'm saying, reasonably speaking, on the amount of rest that those 3 guys have, who are your best 3 bullpen guys, I think there are a lot of outs to be had. And I would go to them in the middle innings and try to ride them to the finish line. Because I think a win on the road in front of 6,000 people in Lafayette would be a really nice win for LSU. We'll see how Jay Johnson feels about that. I'm also curious to see if any of the left-handers get out there in this game tonight. Ethan Plog didn't pitch over the weekend. Santiago Garcia did not pitch over the weekend. Danny Lockenmeyer did not pitch over the weekend. Cooper Williams started the game on Monday and lasted 4 outs. But I feel like these guys are going to be called upon to get some left-handers out. ULL starts 4 left-handed hitters and a switch hitter in their lineup most days. you might need to use one of those guys intermittently across the course of a game, or if they lump some of those guys in there and you think that the third inning is a really good time to go to Plog because there's two left-handers coming up. Like, I don't know what the batting order is going to look like. That's impossible for me to know at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But LSU's going to need these left-handers, and they haven't pitched very well to this point. I wrote this in my preview at LouisianaSports.net. Ethan Plog and Santiago Garcia are probably your lefties right after Cooper Williams, and maybe even higher levers than Cooper Williams, depending on how things shake out. I think they both have better stuff than him in short spurts. Williams has a starter profile that I kind of like, but I think that Plog and Garcia, for like getting one lefty out, I kind of like them. They've been on the mound this year 3 2/3 innings, 3 2/3 innings for those two guys. And they've walked 5 and hit another. So in 3 2/3 innings, 6 free bases from guys that you're asking to come in and get the left-hander out. I need to see those guys be a little bit better. And, of course, the offense has got to break through. But that's not – like, I can drill down on your starting – on your bullpen guys and on this guy in this role. Like, your offense, everybody's got to be better. And I'll start with Derek Curiel because I think he's probably going to hit leadoff tonight. He was 3 for 18 over the weekend. That's a 167 average. He's now hitting below 300. He's got to get rolling, and he will. He's going to. I was going to say something. I'm just going to hesitate. I'm not going to – well – now that I've let that out of the bag, like, this is just a personal Hunt thought. It's completely speculation. It is not in any way rooted in inside sourcing or facts. It's a complete Hunt thought. When Jay Johnson said on Monday that Daniel Harden was not going up there and that Eddie Yaman was not going up there thinking about batting average, I thought about the draftable guys. And certainly Curiel is the most draftable guy on this team, and that's what I thought about. And maybe it's weighing heavy on him that it is his draft year early on, and he's thinking every time he goes up there that it's his draft year. I don't know that. Maybe it's not at all. But it's just when Jay said that on Monday, it perked my ears up a little bit. And maybe he's carrying a little bit of weight. Get loose from that. 3 for 18 over the weekend. That's not him. Did have a huge hit, so you take that. But he needs to be the guy to get LSU started. They need something in the first 3 innings tonight to go really well. They need a crooked number in the first 3 innings. Because if you hang 3 straight zeros on the heels of what you saw for 4 games over the weekend, and everybody in Lafayette knows that's the case, and everybody in LSU's dugout knows that's the case, you start to feel that tension. You start to feel that weight. That's what you got to free yourself from. And I'm hoping what they saw from the guys late in the game on Monday kind of relaxed them a little bit. It looked like it. They were smiling in the dugout. I remember looking at that game going, there are going to be people that don't like that the starters are smiling in the dugout after they've gotten blasted by Northeastern. And I get that. But I'm hopeful that those smiles were a little bit of tension relief because, hey, we can't get the hits. But look, the young guys are crushing the ball. All right, let's get back out there. They get their chance tonight. 6 o'clock it's over in Lafayette. If you want to listen to it, not on Eagle tonight, not on Eagle 98.1. Tonight, LSU baseball against Louisiana Lafayette is on our sister station, 100.7 The Tiger. So if you want to listen to baseball, 100.7 The Tiger tonight from Lafayette. The Matt McMahon Show will be at 7 o'clock on Eagle this evening. So you'll have to catch those 2 different spots. All right, we'll talk some more baseball as we move forward. Koki Riley will be with us in an hour. And when we come back, I'm not talking a lot about LSU and Auburn last night in basketball, okay? That's not a relevant topic. We're not doing it. But Matthew Brune did write for On3 today about the future of LSU basketball. He did mention a couple of national insiders and what their thoughts are on the future of LSU basketball. We'll dig a little bit at that, plus the ladies go into Greenville and what this may mean for them, especially a rematch with South Carolina. We'll do a little bit of basketball, not specific to LSU men in the loss to Auburn last night when we come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running the shop for 40 years. 40 years. If you're looking for a Generac home standby generator, look no further than Boudreaux's Electrical. Work with the local business. Work with the family-owned business. Because that's not only what we tend to do around here in South Louisiana, it's better for you because you get the customer service and that local, close touch that you won't get from the big box stores. The last thing you want is to have a generator, it to have some sort of issue, it goes undetected, then you need it to come on, and it doesn't work. So even if you've bought a Generac generator from someone else, a big box store, not Boudreaux's Electrical, and you haven't heard from them, and you don't know whether or not they're monitoring it, and you don't really know who to call if there's a mechanical issue, well, you can get the Boudreaux's Boost. And that will allow Boudreaux's Electrical to come out and service your generator, even though you didn't buy it from them. That's the kind of business they want to be in. they're here for the customers. Give them a call, 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562. They got a new location in Gonzales. If you prefer the 225, you can call them at 300-9389. It's Boudreaux's Electrical. You can find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Our phones are dead. All right, our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Renaissance Homes and Pools. And the best way to get in touch with the folks at Renaissance Homes and Pools, and when I say the folks at Renaissance Homes and Pools, I mean Joey Blanchard. He's the owner, and he's going to be your point of contact. He told me in our last meeting, like, hey, tell him to text me. That's what we're looking for. And that is absolutely doable. Just give Joey a text. Say, I'm interested in talking about a pool, interested in talking about a home, and Joey can make that happen for you. Of course, it helps if I give you his number, right? You're gonna need that, and I'll do it right now. You can find Joey Blanchard at, of course, 225-252-7745. Give him a text, 225-252-7745. Looking for that pool of your dreams, he can help you get in it. Looking for that home forever, he can build it. Looking for that outdoor kitchen, they can do that as well. Renaissance Homes and Pools, online at builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. Got Matthew Brune now, part of the team over at the Bengal Tiger on 3. He's joined us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing all right. I want to talk big picture on LSU men's basketball because no one really cares that they lost to Auburn last night. So you have done some writing. You have talked about some of the writing from national folks about what LSU basketball is looking at here in the next 3 weeks. Let's just kind of flesh that out a little bit. If you want to start with what the national folks think, you can handle that. If you want to talk about what you think first, you can handle that as well. But it's the big picture thing that everybody wants to talk about. So where are you right now?
Yeah, so I think if we start with obviously everyone's frustrations, right? Everyone's frustrations are 100% valid, and criticisms of McMahon are valid no matter what. Even if you acknowledge the injuries and, let's say, bad luck that he's had, the criticisms of roster construction and criticisms of how the record are all valid here. And I think everybody has come around to the same kind of notion that it is now a financial decision more than anything. And I think that going into this year, and I think with Verge and even Woodward to a degree, it was they needed to make the tournament. And I think everybody was in line with that. It said, all right, you have to make the tournament this year. It doesn't matter what happens. We give you extra money. We give you the money to make a roster. You have a roster. You need to make the tournament. All right. With that being understood, what was not anticipated was the firing of Brian Kelly and the ensuing hiring of Lane Kiffin, obviously. And that's through, I think, a pretty big wrench in terms of the overall financial situation that LSU is in. And, I think I've learned, and I've only been here for 5 years, but I've learned very quickly that, LSU will find a way to get money when they want something done. So it's not impossible, but that threw a wrench in it to at least make Bird Josbury, obviously new athletic director with a big decision here, have to reconsider. And I think with that being the case, it is now a real 50-50 proposition. You mentioned I included some of the national writers in my story, one from CBS, one from ESPN, and both kind of aligned with what we've heard in terms of this is a decision that is very much in the air right now in terms of what it could look like in the coming week with McMahon. I don't think there is a unanimous or consensus lean in the building or from Verge right now, but that's kind of the overarching sentiment that I've got, is that it's in the air, and I think I wouldn't be surprised at all right now if they said, all right, we're going to run it back one more year with McMahon here. That way, we'll know, we can predict the situation financially next year a lot better than we predicted this year because of the Brian Kelly firing and the hiring of Lane Kiffin.
Is it your opinion, because it is mine, that if he is retained, I don't know how he could possibly put together a competitive roster, and you would essentially just be determining, hey, in 2026-27, we know we'll be the worst team in the league. It just is what it is, and we'll deal with that when the season ends. Like, can you see a situation where, no, they don't fire him, but they do generate enough money to go out and get another roster?
I think if you do retain him, you are, in a sense, waving the white flag on next season. Now, even if they don't give him as much money as he got this year, I think if they just, because 2 years ago they were at the bottom of the SEC, right? It was around $2 million. It was really an impossible situation there, and we all acknowledge that. This year, let's say he got up to 6, 7, 8 million, around there. Even if they give him 5 million or so, I do think they're in a world where if everybody stays healthy for once, or at least the key players stay healthy, you can at least be competitive in a sense. You shouldn't go to the very, very bottom. Again, maybe they do, and you're waving the white flag on next season regardless. I definitely think, donors will be hesitant to go all in here, especially if this is a one-year thing. And I do think, coaching in the final years of his contract, I think everybody understands kind of what the situation is. So I do think it is like, all right. And I also want to say, even with the men's basketball, you need to get that back on track. Cool. All of the funds, all of the concentration right now from Verge and the athletic department has to be on football.
Yeah.
Just 100, 1,000%. We need football back to national title contender like status. That is what matters right now. And if hiring a new men's basketball coach and going, all in, let's say Will Wade and everything like that or whatnot, like if that hinders football at all, then I don't even think you should do it. I think football has to be your primary thing to get into the playoffs, to be a title contender, because ultimately that's what's most important here. So I think looking at it through that lens, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they, waved the white flag for next season and said, all right, run it back. We can plan things out a lot better if we have more time than just 2 months since hiring Lane Kiffin.
My second grade teacher told me there was no such thing as a bad question, so humor me on this. Matt McMahon, in 3 weeks, looks up, realizes if they don't give me any money, like I'm going to go 2-16 again. This is going to be just a really big stain on my resume. Like, oh, such and such school in the G5 has an opening. I'll take that gig for $600,000. Yeah, that's a significant pay cut, but I can restart and try to build something like I did at Murray State. Like, is there any chance he just looks at an exit? Like Trent Johnson did that. Is there any chance he would look elsewhere?
I do think there is a chance, especially if what everything I just said is, actually what happens in terms of Verge, and everyone's like, look, we need to get football back on track. We can't allocate you more resources. Like, we can't find you more NIL to do this. And McMahon says, okay, I'll go. But at the same time, I don't know the exact details of how it would work with his contract, how it would work with, I think, 3 years left on it. If he left, obviously they would settle somewhere in the middle, I assume, before he leaves. I don't know the details of what that would be, because if I'm McMahon and you're paying me X millions of dollars
exactly
to coach, I don't know if I'm going to UL or something, Louisiana Tech or something, and taking a 60% pay cut just because I don't want to do this. Like, ultimately, a job's a job, and if he can get DJ Thomas back next year, which isn't but like if you could get him back next year, I do think you at least have some hope to be like, all right, let's go fill in with, like Max McKinnon wasn't super expensive. Nwoko wasn't super expensive. You can find cheaper players. So I do think if you're a competitor and you're a coach, you're in one of the best conferences, in the country, if not the best, I'd be hard-pressed to just leave that voluntarily.
It was a bad question, I admit it, but I just thought I'd toss it out there. All right, Matthew Brune is our guest with the Bengal Tiger, part of the team at the on 3. The LSU ladies about to grab a bus and head off to Greenville. What's on the line here? What are they trying to accomplish in the SC tournament?
Yeah, that you want a 1 seed, and I understand that they can't drop to a 3. I don't think, even if they lose to Oklahoma on Friday. I think they're pretty locked in at a 2. But right now, you're playing so that way you don't have to play. You're not in UConn's region and you're not in UCLA's region. That's what you're playing for right now. And so, Mulkey can talk about how if the SEC tournament doesn't matter and all that stuff. I get it. But if you go and you beat Oklahoma, and let's say you beat South Carolina the following day, you are in contention for a 1. You're at least, you make it hard for them to be like, oh, we're just going to throw them in UConn's region. No, if they're the best 2 seed, you don't want to put them in UConn's region. You don't want to put them in UCLA's region. And that's really what you're playing for here. You are trying not to be in the region of those 2. So I think there is something very tangible to play for. And if they can make a run at it, whether it's getting the last 1 seed or getting the top 2 seed, I think that's very valuable for this team.
We shall see. Tigers in action on Friday from Greenville. Matthew, we appreciate some time, man. Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Hunt.
Matthew Brune with the Bengal Tiger, part of the team over at On3. I read in one of those national blurbs that somebody said if man wants to find a parachute in the G5, he may take it. And I realized that Trent Johnson did that at TCU. But I just don't see that. They're paying him too much. And I actually did the research, and I looked up like 5 different random G5 salaries, and all of them are like $400 to $650, and that's just a massive pay cut. I understand things would be really uncomfortable for Matt McMahon in this town. It would be just a completely dead environment every time you walked into the PMAC, and I think they would have an awful year. But that much money is that much money, and I just don't see how someone would step away from that. Even if LSU looked at him and said, like Matthew said, like, hey, we're going to fund football. We're going to fund some of the other sports. We don't have a lot for you here. So you're on contract, and, here. I don't know. It's easy for a lot of people to spend other people's money, and this will be something we talk about next week when their season ends. It's easy for you to jump on the message board or jump on Twitter and say, they'll buy him out. It's a monthly buyout. Like, it's fine. They'll just pay it. They pay everybody. That's an easy thing to say. And I'm not saying that's wrong. But do you know? Or do you just think? We'll see. What If Wednesday next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com is that website. I got good news for you in terms of Fabry Chevrolet GMC. We talked all last month. We told you about the awesome deals on those trucks, right? All February long. And I told you, February's coming to an end. Get there. February's coming to an end. Get there. Well, guess what? It's March, and they still got the same deals. So if you're looking for a truck, looking for a Chevy Silverado up to $11,000 off MSRP, or 1.9 APR financing, could be yours. Looking for a GMC Sierra up to $13,000 off MSRP or 0.0% APR. If you need a truck, Chevy Silverado, GMC Sierra, get up Highway 61 in St. Francisville and see my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. You'll have a wonderful buying experience, great customer service, incredible service after the sale, and listen to the deals. They speak for themselves. Fabry Chevrolet, Highway 61 in St. Francisville. The entire inventory, including those Silverados and Sierras, is online at Fabry Chevrolet.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at Built by Renaissance, builtbyrenaissance.com. Gotro's Outdoor Power, 2 locations, Baton Rouge and Gonzales. They've been in business, locally owned and operated by the Gotro family for 22 years. Look, you're talking about the largest Hustler inventory in the state by a long shot. You're talking about the largest parts inventory in Louisiana. So when I say family owned and operated, don't think, oh, that's just a mom and pop shop down the street. Not so. If you're driving down Airline, you see that mountain of orange machinery off to the side, that's Gotro's Outdoor Power. If you're looking for a zero-turn mower this spring, entering the summer, Today, not a great day to use it with all the rain, but that just means that grass is going to start growing because it's getting warm. If you need that zero turn, need a hustler, get on by Gotros Outdoor Power. Incredible customer service. Financing options are available. They can get you behind the wheel of a new mower for $100 a month. Consider what you pay someone to come mow your yard. Maybe this is a better option. So go see them at Gotros Outdoor Power, those 2 locations, on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge or in Gonzales. They're also online at GotrosOnline.com. All right, What If Wednesday?
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, so what if William Schmidt has another shutout inning on Sunday and Kason Evans struggles?
I'm not sure that Jay Johnson's in a hurry to move him to start SEC play. I think he trusts Kason at the top. I think he really trusts Cooper Moore in that second slot, and I think he feels like there's a huge advantage on Sundays with William Schmidt. I wrote this. I believe, don't quote me on this, but it's very close. I think 2 years ago, LSU went 2-8 in game 3s. Last year, I think they were 5-5 in game 3s. So you're talking about 7-13 over 2 years in game 3s.
Not too good.
To have William Schmidt in that spot, whether you've won 2 games in a row to open the weekend, whether you've split them, or whether you've lost 2 games in a row, it's just a really nice insurance policy to have right there right now, the way he's throwing the ball. So, yeah, if Kason Evans goes out there and you've got a problem on Fridays and you start 1-4 on Fridays, you do have to look at how you're handling things. But right now, I don't think he's in a hurry. And it's not like Kason's throwing the ball really poorly. It's not just razor sharp, but there's some good there. He struck out a lot of guys last week. He hung 4 zeros the week before. There's some good stuff. He's just got to be more complete. And so I don't think, to your question, I don't think they're going to move anybody right now.
Okay, so at what point would you say it's time to hit that red flag, like the sirens going off? Like, what point in the season?
Depends on what it looks like. I mean, if Kason Evans' SEC ERA through 3 weeks is 11 and you're 0-3 and gotten blasted,
it's time to make a change.
You got to do something. But right now, you're winning games that he starts. You've won all 3 games he started. I'm not in a hurry to move off him.
Okay, so what if Todd Golden was hired at LSU instead of McMahon? Would the results be the same?
No, they would not be the same. I don't think that Todd Golden would have built LSU into what Florida is immediately. It's hard to know from the outside how much fundraising he's doing. He's clearly got a lot of money, and he's clearly a great coach. Yeah. But you consider that their resumes from San Francisco and Murray State were like exactly the same, and just an incredible coincidence. McMahon's last team, which did not have Ja Morant, that went 30-3, played Golden's team in the NCAA tournament and beat them.
Oh, wow.
Murray State beat San Francisco. So they look the same on paper. And one's got a national championship and is going to be a 1 seed this year, and the other one has the worst record in the history of LSU basketball. It's partly coaching, and it's partly investment. And I think Todd Golden would have done better than Matt McMahon here. I don't think he would have done great year 1.
Okay.
He didn't do great year 1 in Florida. And I don't think last year, if he'd gotten the same NIL investment that LSU got, that he would have had a very good team. But stands to reason he's figured this out, and he's doing a lot of work in fundraising and securing NIL stuff and then getting the players. So he would have done a good job at LSU, better than McMahon. I don't think it would have been just like exactly inverse. McMahon goes to Florida and the bottom falls out, and Golden comes to LSU and wins the national championship in year 3. I don't think it would have been that drastic.
Do you think LSU could have got the same type of player? Because Florida's got a roster right now. Like, their roster's ridiculous. If you get the money,
but you've got to get the money. Yeah. And the era that Golden has succeeded in was the wild, wild west, pay anybody, anything, anytime.
Yep.
And if he could have wrestled that up in Baton Rouge, then you could get some guys. But I don't think it would have been the exact same.
Okay, so what if LSU makes the semifinals of the college football semifinals, but they lose to Ole Miss? Who did this? Who wrote this?
I'm not exaggerating. If you told me LSU could go 9-3 and miss the field or go 11-1, make the CFP, get to the semis, lose to Ole Miss, and they go play in the final, I would rather miss the whole thing.
I believe you. I
would rather miss the whole thing.
Yeah.
I got skins on my wall. I talked about this all January long. I don't need Ole Miss even getting in that game. I don't think they'll ever get in that game now.
Yeah.
They had their shot here, and I think they missed it. But no. If you're giving me a what if here, and I get to have the big football season and get to the semis, to the Final Four, big Showtime and Cotton Bowl,
LSU,
the Peach
Ole
Bowl,
Miss.
the Rose Bowl, whatever, and you lose and they go to the final, no, I'll pass. I'll take me to the Capital One Bowl, whatever that is now.
That's
I'll go play in the ReliaQuest Bowl, whatever it is.
I believe you.
I'm not letting Ole Miss, Pete Golding, that fan base.
Oh man.
Nope.
It would be.
I'll bow out. ReliaQuest Bowl.
I can't even put
Independence
in the words.
Bowl.
Independence Bowl at Shreveport. You gonna be there?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Oh yeah.
We'll do the show here, Hunt Palmer Show, live from the fairgrounds in Shreveport.
Live for the fairgrounds.
Could do it from my parents' front porch.
I was going to say
Not a lot
that.
of room on the front porch, but we could do it from the front porch if we go to the Independence Bowl. Whatever's if I'm not gonna win, I'm certainly not gonna let Ole Miss go do it.
Nah, man. I even hate the thought of that. Like that. Having such a great season like that. Because I mean, LSU season was immaculate.
Yeah,
they made it
good.
all the way to the semifinals. Like we are actually knocking on the door. And you're looking at Ole Miss head to head. We already know what that game is going to be. So that means LSU, because they already going to play it already. But regardless of the fact, I couldn't even imagine just losing that game.
But you're telling me we lose. I'd have to think really long and hard about it, about if you just get to play the game. Because that possibility then exists.
True.
But again, I'm working with some equity here. I got 3 natties in my back pocket, seen them all with my own eyes. Okay?
This one different though. You know this one's different. You know this one is different.
I don't want Ole Miss to ever get there.
Exactly.
So maybe I'm unreasonable.
No.
I'll check in the Bayou 4 chat, see what they think. But
no.
I need Ole Miss where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be 7-5. That's where they should be. They fit very well in 7-5.
They do.
Play that Egg Bowl for some bowl eligibility or something. Get onto the Liberty Bowl. Check out that Music City Bowl. Great spot for the Rebs. Not the Final Four.
Right.
I can't deal with that again.
Give us an A.J. Brown every now and then.
I ran around my kitchen island after Beck ran that ball in against Ole Miss.
So I said nobody will ever disrespect Beck ever again in my life. He did what needed to be done. He should never buy a beer if he ever comes to Baton Rouge ever again. So that's it for What If Wednesday.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, bathrooms can be a dangerous place. If somebody in your life is aging, get them those non-slip floors. Get them those handrails where there could be dangerous areas. How about in the bathroom, a walk-in tub for convenience and comfort, safety? How about a shower with benches in it? They can do that for you as well at One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his team do it all the time. If you're concerned about paying for it but think it might be the time to get it done, well, don't let that stop you. They've got financing options, 0% up to 18 months. They can absolutely help you out with that. So it's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at onebathandclosets.com. When we come back, we will close out the hour with Dr. Jeremy Burnham. There's been a weird injury in South Carolina. We don't have details about it, but I'm just curious about the circumstance and then Shane Beaner's response to it, which I also found to be odd. I'll get Dr. Burnham's thoughts on that, as well as some of the talking points that he wants to hit on here as we close out hour number 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carbo and his team, they're just great folks to work with. They're awesome people, one, and they know what they're doing, too, and that's important. You need to make sure that your insurance broker knows what they're doing. In some instances, it could be a captive. If you are a sizable business, you pay a significant amount in premium, you have great loss history, great risk management, and you have not been shown a captive, call the Highland Insurance Group. Say, hey, I'm kind of drowning in these premiums here. We don't really have claims. Like, can we get in a captive? Let them come talk to you about it. If your broker hasn't shown you that, perhaps he or she doesn't have access to a captive. Perhaps he or she doesn't have a grasp on captives. They do at the Highland Insurance Group, and they will help you out by potentially changing the game on your bottom line with a captive program. Not everyone fits, so it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. But they have the experience, they deal with them every day, and they're happy to show you what that might look like for your business. The Highland Insurance Group, find them online at HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Failure happens to us all. champions of all.
Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. You can find them online at builtbyrenaissance.com. That's builtbyrenaissance.com. Time now with our sports health conversation driven by the folks over at Ochsner. Dr. Jeremy Burnham gives us time every couple of weeks. He's on Jim's Firearms Hotline. Dr. Burnham, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon, Hunt. Doing great.
Glad to hear it. The first question I have for you, we don't have any concrete evidence or any sort of real information on this. I'm just curious because you're a medical professional and see stuff like this all the time. Jacarius Peak is a offensive lineman that transferred to South Carolina, slated to be their left tackle. Huge addition for Shane Beamer's team. And in a team building exercise, they played a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. And he got hurt to the point where he's going to miss all of spring and all of summer. We don't know how he got hurt, but you see basketball injuries all the time. You see football injuries all the time. Y'all have dealt with folks that are 6'6", 330 pounds. Like, would you allow your football team to play off-season 3-on-3 basketball?
Hey, that's a great question. It's definitely a unique mix between the basketball injury and the football athlete. Now, this is a guy, he was, I think, one of the top portal transfers this year, right? So I think pretty big news coming out of an SEC rival here. I mean, I think it's a tough call, right? So basketball develops a lot of skills, a lot of hand-eye coordination, a lot of footwork that I think is beneficial in football. And also there's the team building aspect, right? I think we all, all of our groups or teams or anybody can relate to wanting to do some of these team building things. If no injury would have happened, then we wouldn't have been talking about it. It probably would have been a positive thing, but certainly a lot of eyes on it. I think this is a guy that I don't think he had much of an injury history prior to this. I think he started a lot of games, 30 or 40 games without major injuries, to my knowledge. So certainly a development. It sounds like it's probably not a full ACL tear. I think did they say he's coming back? I think this summer maybe, or maybe the fall.
Right. And I don't even know if it's a knee, lower leg. Like, who knows exactly what happened? But clearly he didn't tweak his ankle. Like, something happened if he's going to miss 6 months here.
Something enough that he's going to be out for a little while. You would think that it's probably in line with maybe like an MCL type injury with maybe a bone bruise or a possibly a meniscus tear. I don't think I've seen anything publicly released. If it's an ACL, you're thinking 9 to 12 months. This sounds shorter than that. These big guys, they put a lot of torque in their knees. They can do a valgus maneuver where their knee kind of bows in, and that's what stretches the MCL. So I think that's likely to be a part of it, but we don't know a lot about it. I think, you're looking at that 3 to 5 months. He's probably going to be back in sport-specific things, and hopefully for them, be back at the fall. And it sounds like it's probably a non-contact injury. You can get hurt doing anything. I tell my patients that all the time. You just got to be smart about it. Some things you can't control.
I would tell Coach Beamer maybe look into paintball, water slides, maybe some bowling, as opposed to a 3-on-3 basketball tournament with a bunch of 6'5"
Not
dudes.
Pickleball. I can tell you that. Not pickleball. I've
Really?
seen those injuries. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Lots of pickleball injuries.
Interesting, because my wife's all about pickleball these days. It's National Athletic Training Month, so let's talk a little bit about that. I know y'all have got an incredible staff over there at Elite as well as Ochsner.
I think athletic trainers are the core, the backbone of sports medicine. I've said that before on the show, Hunt. And, you probably have seen athletic trainers, or athletic trainers have been around you when you didn't even realize it. They put in crazy hours. I mean, early mornings, late evenings. This is obviously can be all the way from the professional setting down to your middle school athlete that's playing a game, but also companies like Amazon and some of the different industries out there are starting to employ athletic trainers. And they really, a lot of times are the unsung heroes. We all remember DeMar Hamlin when he went down, and it was athletic trainers that kind of sprung to his rescue. And so they're very, very highly skilled, very, very educated, very, very hardworking people that if I'm out there playing pickleball or whatever it is, I want an athletic trainer close by. This is a month in March that we take every year to recognize athletic trainers. If you see an athletic trainer, I just encourage people to thank them. They probably don't get thanked enough, and just tell them how much you appreciate them.
No question. Jay Johnson is very meticulous about everything that goes on at LSU baseball, and he thanked their trainer last week in a big way for everything that's going on over there. So it's a big deal, obviously. What's going on over at Elite? We got about 90 seconds left.
Yeah, hey, we got a lot of good things going on at Elite. We're always working on our ACL prevention stuff. We talk about that all the time. A lot of our team actually is getting recognized at the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons this week. We have several surgical technique videos and some different research that we're doing getting represented there. So proud of our team making waves there. Always, we have our walk-in clinic. We're going to be expanding those hours soon, so we're open 7 days a week. You can just walk into the Elite facility and get seen for an orthopedic issue.
Appreciate your time very much, Dr. Burnham. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk very, very soon.
Talk to you soon, huh? Thanks.
As Dr. Jeremy Burnham with Oxner. The weather is warming up at Oxner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute. Know that sports injuries can be unpredictable. One situation you can protect yourself from is muscle cramping. One of the first things you can do to aid in recovery to avoid muscle cramping, stretch prior to and at the end of your activity. Not drinking enough fluids, that can lead to muscle cramps as well. Be sure to stay hydrated as that weather warms up. To learn more about sports injury prevention and treatment, visit oxnard.org/brortho. That's oxnard.org/brortho. Appreciate Dr. Burnham for jumping aboard here. That is a fast-moving hour number one here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. If you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. I opened the show today talking about LSU and Louisiana Lafayette this evening from Lafayette. I think it's going to be an incredible environment, a great night for college baseball in the state of Louisiana, one that is important to both teams, but certainly not one that's going to wreck anybody's season. And I expect there to be really spirited competition. I talked about my last time there in Lafayette, which was 2013 when Alex Bregman hit his first career home run as an LSU Tiger. That's the last time I was there. And I was sitting in a folding chair by the dugout. Now they've built that baby out. I'll be in the comforts of a press box tonight, and there will be 6,000 that'll be there rowdy, and I can't wait for that. So I talked about that at the top of the show. Matthew Brune jumped on 15 minutes into the show at 1:15, talked about LSU basketball big picture. What do the national analysts think? What's realistic moving forward, and what he thinks may happen with LSU basketball. So we talked about that at 1:15, a little what if Wednesday. And then, of course, sports health with our guys over at Oxner. That's Dr. Jeremy Burnham today. We certainly appreciate him for giving us some time. We'll take a time out when we come back. Koki Riley from The Advocate. He'll be in Lafayette tonight. We'll talk Tigers and Cajuns after Sports Center when we come back on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com is the website. Reminder, they service all makes in the service department at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. So if you have a bit of an issue and you're looking for somewhere to take that vehicle, take it to Fabry Chevrolet GMC. I told you all earlier this week, my wife and I went up to St. Francisville for a little bit of a celebration of our 5th anniversary. It's such a quick drive up from Baton Rouge. Just a hop, skip, and a jump up there. So if you're in Baton Rouge, don't let St. Francisville scare you off. It's right there on Highway 61. And certainly if you're in New Roads or Ventura, somewhere in Point Capee, or if you're over in the Felicianas, certainly in Baker, Scotlandville, north of Baton Rouge, it's right there on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. And you know you're going to get an amazing customer service when you get to Fabry Chevrolet GMC, because the Fabry family's been here for 35 years doing just that in our great city. So go by and see them, Highway 61 in St. Francisville. The entire inventory is online at FabryChevrolet.com. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC online at FabryChevrolet.com.